Hi, this is a 12-page PowerPoint presentation consisting of how to prevent elder financial exploitation. These are some issues. This is a certified fraud examiner's perspective. I'm a CFE, Lyndon Mather, located in Montreal, Quebec, and I hope you like this PowerPoint. So seniors are particularly susceptible to financial exploitation to a whole bunch of reasons. One of which is social isolation. They get older, they tend to withdraw more from society. They don't get out as much. They don't talk to their friends as much. There's also the dependency on a limited number of family members and friends related to that social isolation. They may become emotionally hostage to their family members or certain other people in their lives. They may suffer from disabilities in cognitive thought processes as they age. They may be hesitant to report anything afoul. They come from the polite generation where they do not want to create friction. There also may be limited physical capabilities. And they come from a trusting age. When they were brought up with too much base respect for others, most times even strangers, they trust society too much, and that allows them to become victims quite easily. Too much, actually. The problem is they don't report financial exploitation because of a whole bunch of reasons as well. First of all, they are ashamed that they fell victim to a scam or from a family member who took advantage of them. There are family politics involved where they don't want to upset the family environment. They may be afraid of a potential loss of relationship they have with their abuser. If there's a close family member or an offspring, they may be afraid of losing that relationship. They may be afraid to be moved to a retirement home to be looked after if they pronounce that they have been a victim. They may be afraid that they will be abandoned. That's an overriding concern. They may be afraid of friction that will cause, which upsets others if they point out the fact that they've been exploited. They may be afraid that there will be no punishment for it, even if they do report it, because they think their money is gone and it's not recoverable. And they may be afraid that they'll be blamed for their loss. They may not even be aware that they have been victimized. They're looked into. They may have a fear of the perpetrator, and they may have a fear of the power of the perpetrator over them in a family setting. So as a CFE, I've broken the steps to prevent financial exploitation of elders down to three primary components: the environmental, psychological, and monitoring. And we'll get into these shortly. Environmental relates to ensuring that the environment is good and is created through their judgment, associations, friendships, outlets to others that allows them to feel at ease. There should always be a secondary advisory for their choices, either before or after, ensure sound decisions that the elder is making. With respect to psychological, you should encourage them to understand that the world is not as safe as they think when they grew up. You should encourage them to always ask as many questions and verify answers as they want. You should give them the courage to know when to complain and not settle for vague answers. With respect to monitoring, there should be actual oversight as much as possible within their stated limits that they give you, what they are doing so as to prevent things getting away on them. You want to be able to step in if they've made poor choices or you see financial exploitation happening. So who am I and why am I talking about this? I have spent decades in numerous accounting roles in small to larger enterprises in Canada after finishing a BCom in accountancy in '92 with an informal concentration in tax at Concordia U in Montreal. I've also studied at McGill Chartered Accountancy Program and in the law faculty. I've composed numerous Google books of research and compiled Canadian law with intent of easing education and centralized sources. I have two of them in Canadian University Law Faculty libraries. As a CFE, a Certified Fraud Examiner, I am seeking to, of course, practice and educate on practical techniques and issues in fraud prevention and deterrence that I've seen or practiced in academia, professional journals, and industry over years on issues regarding accounting, internal controls, law, and personnel. My objective, like that relating to legal publishing, is to supply practical and free information in one source that will allow you to actually help you with your environment rather than just glamorize the issues with keywords without thorough explanation. I'm adding these short slideshows to the web to sensitize you to issues that will inform you. I'm very personally interested in elder financial exploitation since I have seen it occur and understand how seniors in their golden years should be respected and attended to with all the decency that they have lived their lives with. This is one of the areas that I'm passionate about since, in my opinion, these are the weakest of possible victims who exist in society, and they should have their financial health on everyone's priority list. Hope you like this slideshow. So with respect to environmental issues that you can look into, you should try to prevent isolation from occurring, being to a smaller circle of friends and family members through constant contact with the senior. You should encourage them to stay tuned in to what their more solid, lifelong friends and neighbors are experiencing, talking about, and encourage them to be open about what they're experiencing with them. You want to get the senior to open up to their family and friends. You should be an ear that they can call at any time if they have any concerns or questions. You should encourage them to ask questions to get answers they understand, and if they don't, ensure that they ask you to ask those questions to get answers. And lastly, you should encourage them to limit placing too much trust on those that you don't see the full extent of. These are very fundamental issues in the environment that you should encourage a senior to live in, that are environmental, that they can control. With respect to psychological issues, you should always ensure that they understand that they can come to you with anything that affects their lives. You should also not make fulfilling their needs contingent on something that would prevent them from asking you for help to begin with. You always want to make sure you're open to anything. You should make them understand that the world can be a very scary place for seniors vis-a-vis the swindlers who want their money. Always caution them about that. You should caution them about placing too much trust and encourage them to ask for second opinions on everything they deal with financially. You should make sure they understand that it is their business and they have a right to ask questions that affect them. It is their money, it is their life, they have a right to ask issues that affect them. You should make them more accessible, assertable in their dealings with the outside world, be it family members, neighbors, salesmen, bankers, etc. Make them more assertable in how they deal with strangers and family members. You should make sure that they understand that they have all the time needed to make informed decisions. They should never be rushed into anything by either family member or outside party. You should make sure that they understand they are not alone, that you are always there if needed. All they need is courage to ask. Those are some fundamental psychological issues that you should try and have them live with to make them more at ease and more comfortable. So this is the monitoring component. I call it the nitty-gritty of preventing financial exploitation of elders. You need to share this with another party, be it a neighbor, a family member, or a friend. You should always have two parties overseeing what's going on. Primarily because if there's only one party overseeing what's going on, that party may be the perpetrator to begin with. So if you consistently have two people overseeing what's going on, you have a second person who may prevent it from happening. You should oversee as much as possible within the elder's stated limits that they give you, such things as bank accounts, investment accounts, credit cards, credit reports that you should call periodically to make sure there's no fictitious credit cards being asked for or realized, tax reports, utility usage and or billing, and dealings with banks, notaries, and lawyers generally. You can also arrange for systematic payments of utilities, credit cards, taxes, income and property, mortgages, and prescriptions. You should be able to set all this up so that every month it's quite easy to oversee what your senior or elder has been doing over the month, and there's nothing that's gone astray during that month. And as I say, it's important to share these responsibilities of monitoring with two people, not just one, because as I say, as any accountant will tell you, you have a classic situation if one party does it all. So here we have some special points on powers of attorney, which are quite useful in a senior's environment, but can lead to serious problems, primarily because you're giving control over a senior's financial health to a second party. They can be either broadly based or narrowly based to allow only certain dealings. It depends on how you write them. It depends on what you agree to. There's no such thing as a boilerplate power of attorney. You can tailor a power of attorney endlessly to allow only certain things to happen. They could be phrased to only allow certain dealings with your investment or bank accounts. They could be phrased only to allow withdrawals from the investment account to the bank accounts. And they can certainly be phrased to prevent dealings in real estate titles owned by the grantor of the power. So a power of attorney is a highly flexible item that can be quite tailored to what the senior may want and what they may merely need. They should definitely be placed to only lifelong, long relationship parties who actually have performed in the past, who are actually active in the grantor's life. You don't want to give a power of attorney to someone who is only there on a monthly basis, because you don't know what they're doing with it until 1 month afterwards. There is a problem monitoring since no one but the exerciser of the power sees the whole picture, so it's important for the grantor to have regular feedback on what its exercise is doing. And if one item appears as a result of that power's exercise unexpectedly, the senior or the monitor should demand answers or should ask for it to be revoked. And always remember, they can lead to criminal charges of fraud if someone exercising the power has taken advantage of it. So these are some additional issues regarding powers of attorney. The holder has a duty to act in the best interests of the grantor. The duty is owed to the senior, always. The power of attorney should spell out gifts or loans that can be made specifically in case an argument arises. Well, she and the grantor agreed to give me a loan. Well, that's not necessarily the case if the power of attorney states otherwise. And you shouldn't believe that there are safeguards in place in the form of bankers, accountants, and doctors, since they see only a small portion of the power's aspect, while the actual exerciser sees the entire aspect of it. Depending on exercise, a relevant outside party may not want to get involved to ensure it's congruent with the object of the power. They may just see it as a blank check to do whatever you want, and they may not care, so you should be careful about phrasing it properly. And for these reasons, when granting a power of attorney, it's entirely possible and encouraged to require two people to be involved in its exercise or two in its operation. That way there's less of a potential for that one person to go astray and go wild with it. As an ancillary point, you should also watch for changes in the will at the hands of the power of attorney holder. So these are some classic things to watch for in elder financial exploitation that will increase its potential to occur. Overbearing children or family members on the senior, emotionally immature family members, family members who seek to isolate the elder to the exclusion of others, such as neighbors, friends, and family. The typical let me take care of it all parties in the elder's life who will not get involved unless it's entirely in their uninspected control. Family members who are not financially secure or seek to have even more. Historic family resentments is another one. Unemployed offspring with addictions to anything. Offspring or family members who don't think highly of the elder. Family members who engage in politics against other siblings or family members. Family members who are constantly thinking about the elder's money, but not the elder's actual needs. And finally, unhappy offspring or other family members. These are just some elements that you should be perceptive to with respect to elders and the environment they live in that could expose them to financial exploitation. So once financial exploitation has occurred, there are possible corrective and recovery actions that you can take. The first step is that you should always convince the elder that they have actually been exploited. Once you've convinced them that they've exploited and concrete actions are available, you're more than halfway there. The second step is to contact local police to lay complaints. Such can take the form of criminal charges for fraud, forgery, intimidation, or even extortion. Make sure the police are thorough in taking the complaint as to what happened. Don't be afraid to explain it all, and don't be brushed off by the police. Make sure a formal complaint is lodged and that it's very verbose in actually what has occurred, either through the series of events that happened or all the events that happened up to the singular event. You should also take practical steps immediately to limit all access to the senior by the perpetrator. You should also close all the, I call them, loopholes that gave rise to the problem, such as power of attorneys or bank accounts. Take away all the checkbooks. Cancel all the credit cards. You don't want to leave the perpetrator with an avenue to continue the same stunts. The third step is civil recovery on grounds of setting aside fraudulent power of attorney exercises, which are impossible, recovery of monies from the bank who did not inspect the signatures on the checks that were coming through, and it's possible to civilly trace funds through some need for fees for such for lawyers and investigators. So there you have it, a short little 12-page PowerPoint presentation on how to prevent financial exploitation of seniors and elders. I'm a CFE in Montreal. These are my coordinates. You feel free to take a look at my other YouTubes, which deal in the concrete steps that as a CFE I can perform to realize funds if there's been an instance of financial exploitation of an elder. If you'd like a copy of this PowerPoint, please give me a call, give me an email, and I'll send it off to you. And thank you from Montreal.